Nobody was satisfied with what they had, were they? Do we ever get like that sometimes? Yeah, I think we all get like that, me included, everybody, I think gets like that. So what do you think it means to give thanks?
I think it means to acknowledge where what you have comes from.
Mhm.
Most of us think we get those things ourselves.
Yeah. And it's more than just a verbal thing, it's something that comes from your heart too. So when I looked in the Bible to see what um, the definition, there were several Greek and Hebrew words that were translated into thanks. Here's the big two. Can you pronounce that YDH word? It's Yod. It's the main word in the Old Testament. It comes up 102 times in the Old Testament, and 72 of those times this word is used. It's acknowledging what is right about God in praise and thanksgiving. It can also mean a right acknowledgement of self before God in confessing sin. Okay. The other word, and I'm going to let Bill say this word. It comes up 71 times in the New Testament, and this is the word that it's mostly related to or use this word. To show oneself grateful, to be thankful, to give thanks, used in a religious sense with or without reference to God. I got another short video I want to show you guys.
How many times have you heard someone say they want to make a better world? It is a noble sentiment, but very hard to achieve, right? Well, actually, it's quite easy. All we have to do is increase just one human trait. This trait is so powerful that it alone can make people happier without working on their happiness and make them better. And by better, I mean more generous, more honest, more kind, more everything good, without a single lesson in morality. So then, what is this one almost magical thing? Drum roll, please. It's gratitude. You can't be a happy person if you aren't grateful, and you can't be a good person if you aren't grateful. Almost everything good flows from gratitude, and almost everything bad flows from ingratitude. Let's begin with ingratitude. Here's a rule of life. Ingratitude guarantees unhappiness. It is as simple as that. There isn't an ungrateful, happy person on earth, and there isn't an ungrateful, good person on earth. There are two reasons. Reason one is victimhood. Ingratitude always leads to or comes from victimhood. Ungrateful people, by definition, think of themselves as victims. And perceiving oneself as a victim or perceiving oneself as a member of a victim group may be the single biggest reason people hurt other people, from hurtful comments to mass murder. People who think of themselves as victims tend to believe that because they've been hurt by others, they can hurt others. And the second reason ungrateful people aren't good people is that ingratitude is always accompanied by anger. The ungrateful are angry, and angry people lash out at others. If ingratitude makes people unhappy and mean, then gratitude must make people happy and kind. And so it does. Think of the times you have felt most grateful. Were they not always accompanied by a feeling of happiness? Weren't they also accompanied by a desire to be kinder to other people? The answer, of course, is yes. Grateful people aren't angry, and they don't see themselves as victims. The problem, however, and it's a big one, is that in America and much of the rest of the world, people are becoming less grateful. Why? Because people are constantly told that they are entitled to things they haven't earned, what are known as benefits or entitlements. And the more things that people think they should get, the less grateful they will be for whatever they do get. and the more angry and therefore unhappy they will be when they don't get them. Here are 2 rules of life. Rule number 1, the less you feel entitled to, the more gratitude you will feel for whatever you get, and the happier you will be. Rule number 2, the more you feel entitled to, the less happy you will be. That's why, for example, children who get whatever they want are usually less happy children. We have a word for such children, spoiled. And no one thinks of a spoiled child as a happy child, and certainly not a kind one. The more that you feel that life or society owes you, the angrier you will get, the less happy you will be. As a result, we are increasing the number of angry, unhappy, and selfish people. The other way we are making people unhappy, and even meaner, is by cultivating a sense of victimhood. People are constantly told that they are victims because of their upbringing, because of past prejudice against their group, because of material inequality, because they are female, and for many other reasons. Next time you want to assess any social policy, ask this question first. Will this policy increase or decrease gratitude among people? You will then know whether it is something that will bring more goodness and happiness to the world or less. If I were granted one wish, it would be that all people be grateful. Gratitude is the source of happiness and the source of goodness. And the more good people and the more happy people there are walking around, the happier and better our world will be. If you have a way of achieving such a world without increasing gratitude, let me know what it is. I'm Dennis Prager.
This whole lesson came out of that book, the Book of Mysteries, How to Multiply Bread. Now, how that connects will come up here in just a second. But this particular lesson out of that book really blessed me and had a real personal meaning to me. And so I wanted to share this with you. So when Christ was ministering to a multitude of thousands, a crisis arose. The people were hungry. They didn't have food. Anybody know what Christ did? Because it was a bad situation. Do you know, CC? You look like you know. It's coming. Kelsey, you know? Do you remember when there was a whole bunch of people and they were hungry, there was no food? There was something about fish and bread. Yeah? Yeah. Do you know? Okay, well, let's read the scriptures that go with it. Let's read the scriptures and see how Jesus handled it. Matthew 14:14 through 21. And when Jesus went out, he saw a great multitude, and he was moved with compassion for them, and healed their sick. When it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a deserted place, and the hour is already late. Send the multitudes away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves food. But Jesus said to them, They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. And they said to him, We have here only 5 loaves and 2 fish. I imagine the disciples thought he was crazy about feeding this large group of people with just 5 loaves and 2 fish. But Jesus said, he said, Bring them here to me. Then he commanded the multitudes to sit down on the grass, and he took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and broke, and gave the loaves to the disciples, and the disciples gave to the multitudes. Look at what the first thing he did. He blessed. He blessed, just like we give blessings for our food. He gave thanks. So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of fragments that remained. Now those who had eaten were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Might be safe to say there was about 10,000 people here he fed.
5 loaves and 2 fish.
Do you think the disciples thought Jesus was crazy?
Probably.
Yeah, there was a multitude of people, and I think there was about 5,000 people. And how much bread and fish did he have?
5 loaves and 2 fish.
So how is he going to get 5 loaves and 2 fish to feed all those people? We think it's magic because he was Jesus? No,
Yeah, he went up to
He
heaven.
blessed.
he blessed. And in this context, he meant he gave thanks. Because when we eat, what do? We do. We say the blessing, we give thanks. And usually it starts something like, thank you for the food we're about to eat.
Yeah, besides the women and children.
So 5,000 men, and then you add the women and the kids, you think maybe there was close to 10,000 people there?
Mm-hmm.
And they had what? Food left over? So you think everybody got full? Okay. So when we look at this, how did Christ perform the miracle? You said it a while ago. How did he did. He blessed it. Christ gave thanks. So when we give thanks, it's crucial to a life of fullness and blessing. By giving thanks, you get the power of multiplication. Now, look at me for just a second, girls, and I'll share something with you. This past week, my dad had surgery last Thursday. And when I did the research on this surgery, this is the second time he's had this surgery. They had to clean out his carotid artery. The first time they did it, he had 5 strokes and was in a nursing home for 6 months. The risk increased greatly when you're over 75. My dad is 80. And this whole lesson probably was directed at me. I began to thank God for the time I had with my dad. I honestly thought that I would be at a funeral this weekend. I did not think my dad would make it. The doctor said that if he doesn't have the surgery, he's going to have a massive stroke and die or be a vegetable. The doctor said if he does have the surgery, that could possibly happen, but that's his only chance to live. So I went up Wednesday, spent time with my dad. I thought that would be the last time I saw my dad alive. My prayer to God was, thank you for the time I've had with my dad, and I want your healing, God. That was a hard prayer to pray. I didn't pray that God give him earthly healing, because God could have chose to take my dad home and put him in heaven, or God could have healed him for here. My dad went through the surgery. Before he went through the surgery, he couldn't hardly grip. He came out of the surgery with a much stronger grip and a much clearer mind. I feel like I have my dad back. Before the surgery, he was found at 2:00 in the morning outside screaming at my mom. She went out, she caught him out there. He thought they were babysitting my 2-year-old granddaughter and that mom wasn't taking care of him. When my brother asked him why he was outside at 2 in the morning, he said, Kenny told me. He said, little Kenny, because I have a grandson named Kenny. He said, no, your brother Kenny. My brother Kenny died at birth. And what I found out, and you know this, that the carotid being blocked off, it was almost 100%. He wasn't getting enough oxygen to his brain. So it was causing a lot of confusion. He sounds like his old self now. He's giving orders. He's planning on he's going to ride a horse. He's planning on doing all kinds of stuff. But I gave thanks. And in the giving of thanks, I was definitely blessed. Now, it could have gone the other way, and if it had gone the other way, it still would have been a blessing because my dad would have been home with God, and there would have been no pain or anything. But like I said, this lesson definitely was for me.
I see.
So by doing what Christ did, you don't look at how little you have or how impossible the situation is. And for me, that situation was pretty impossible. Okay? You don't panic or complain. And I don't understand why I was able to not just be walking around crying and everything, because I've known about this for a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. You don't get discouraged over not having enough. What you do is you take what you have, whatever good there is, no matter how small, you lift it up to the Lord and you give thanks. Now, that situation didn't look like there was much to give thanks in, did it? But I had my daddy for a lot of years. When you do this, your blessings will multiply. The more you give thanks, the less you will hunger, the more full and blessed you will be. You give thanks for what is not enough, and it will multiply to what is enough. 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, "In everything give thanks, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." So stop seeking more. Stop living in the realm of not enough. Today, practice giving thanks for everything. You will perform the act of multiplication. So, anybody have anything they want to say they're thankful for today?
Why are you looking at me?
I'm looking that direction, Kristen. There was one time Bill was real frustrated down here, probably more than one time, but this one time I'm thinking about, he was frustrated because, you know, we look around, we don't have a big fancy house, but if you go out in this community, you will see people that have much less than you have. We had picked up some bread that church over in 10 Mile would give out to the community, and we were taking it and delivering to homes. There's a small mobile home not far from here. When we were delivering, there were holes in the floor, and they could fall through the floor literally in their home, and I don't know how they kept rodents and everything else out of the house. Well, Bill was feeling frustrated this particular day, and he went around thanking God for every fence post, for every board that we put up. We did not do this all at once. When we first moved down here, we had fence posts and no no tape, nothing to connect the fence posts together. Everybody probably thought we were crazy. And then little by little, we have gotten what we have, and it's not, nothing all came at once. It was just piece by piece. We were going to live in the horse trailer until we got everything set up. But by the time he got through walking this property and thanking God for everything, he felt pretty grateful, didn't you? And sometimes we look at what we don't have instead of what we do have.
It all has to do with our.
And you girls have a great example in your mom. Your mom, since she's had you guys, she's gotten her diploma. She's gone on. She's gotten her nurse's degree. I mean, she has been very thankful for every bit of it. I've heard her say it. And actually, I've heard you girls be really proud and thankful that your mom did that. And that's not an easy feat when you have kids.
No. Situation too.
I am thankful for Bill. I'm thankful for all of you guys, my family. And I had the opportunity to be with a young lady that's very close to Miss Tootsie, and I'm not going to mention her names because you guys might know her. But she came by this week. She asked to bring a friend over and to ride horses. And this young lady has a mom and has a dad, but they are not raising her. This child pretty much is taking care of herself with the assistance of some very close family members that she comes and she lives at their house but this kid is, my understanding, paying all her own car insurance and supporting herself in a lot of ways. And she has a sister who, this young lady, I see a lot of thankfulness and gratitude in. And she, even in the bad situation she's in, she's a pretty happy kid. Her sister has kind of fought it, felt the victim, probably won't get her diploma. This young lady will get her diploma and already have some college hours and planning on going to college. And, you know, I didn't have to go through any of that, and I have to pray for these two young ladies. And I would love to see both of them get their diplomas and go on. One of them, I'm afraid, if something doesn't change in her life, and that's what I need to pray, is that God will place the right people in her life, because her mama can't even take her in to live with her. And she's living with a friend's family right now. So I'm thankful that you girls have a home with your mama,
Mhm.
which is totally a blessing. I'm thankful for my
Mhm.
grandkids in the same situation, because as bad as any situation seems, it can always be worse. And can you imagine being on your own with, I have to share with y'all about John. I had a young man when I taught in Arkansas. I got him when he was in 7th grade. I was teaching at the junior high at the time. John, we sent down to have his hearing and vision checked. Well, he couldn't half hear. That's why he couldn't read, because he couldn't hear sounds. Then we discovered he needed glasses. So not only could he not hear the sounds when he was reading, he couldn't see. So we got his glasses. Awesome kid in math. Man, he could do math upside down, backwards, whatever. Well, when I moved to the high school, he was at the high school. And that's when the big calculators first come out, and I didn't understand them. John could fix them and show me how to do them. And I never thought much about, John lived with his dad, who's an older guy, retired military. And his dad told John, get your education. And get your education. Well, John was in 10th grade and his dad passed away. His mother, who had been in and out of the picture, breezed back in. But she only came in to get the money that dad had left, because there was a some good money because of the military. Well, one day in 11th grade, John walked into my classroom soaking wet, and he was late. He had walked from about probably where he lived, from about where Sweetwater is to Midway High School, to school that day. And it was in the middle of a thunderstorm. And I said, John, you're late, you're soaking wet. What happened, buddy? And he said, I missed the bus. I asked my mom to bring me to school. She told me it didn't matter. I didn't need to go to school. But his dad had instilled in him how important his education was. So that kid walked to school. By the time he was a senior, he became an emancipated minor. Do you know what that means? Okay. He was responsible for himself. He no longer lived with mom. Well, probably about October, November of his senior year, John tried to kill himself. We discovered that John was selling blood monthly to be able to eat. John, there was just a whole lot of issues. There was nobody at home when John got home to say, "Hey, you have a good day, buddy?" Nobody to say happy birthday. Nobody to see that he had clothes. Nobody to see that he was fed. And he was 16 or 17 at the time. So at that point, I was allowed to talk to him at the hospital. He had put me on the list, and I talked to John. The teachers got together, and somebody got him a bicycle so he could get around. My brother was probably a couple of years, my brother's about 12 years younger than me. Brian was probably 2 or 3 years older than John. Brian, Mom would send me all of Brian's hand-me-down clothes. John would come to school after that, and he would say, "I got your brother's jacket on. I got your brother's shirt on." "Yeah, John, that looks really good." Somebody got him a job at a local restaurant. John was the only person. It was kind of like living between Sweetwater and Midway, and they had a long distance section between the two, back when long distance phones were really a big deal. He was the only one that could call collect the work, and somebody would come pick him up if he couldn't get a thing. John is now has graduated. He was offered a job at a bigger, fancier restaurant, but he couldn't. His reading skills were so bad he couldn't read the orders. So he stayed at this as kind of like Dinner Bell. It's all you can eat, and they would put out the things. John still works there to this day. Occasionally, there's a teacher that works in the gift shop there, and he will bring his letters, his bills in, and whatever teacher's there will sit down and help him with his letters and his bills and stuff. And John has made it. And I always think of John when I think about being thankful or not thankful and how bad you can have it. Well, John had it just about as bad as any kid could have it. So I'm thankful that you guys aren't having to go through that. I'm thankful my grandkids aren't having to go through that. And I'm thankful the young lady we talked about is not having to go through that, because she does have somebody that says, how's it going? So, Bill, would you like to end us in prayer?